Have you ever truly wondered what life is like to live in the great city of Ba Sing Se? Avatar Legends City of Echoes is a brand new book to the Avatar franchise that recently came out, and while it may follow the story of a much lesser character in the franchise, Jin, the more you read into her story, the more you realize the journey is really a window into something much bigger. Ba Sing Se is the biggest city in the Earth Kingdom, and maybe even on the whole planet. Beneath those giant walls, and beneath the polished image that they want you to see and be brainwashed into thinking, there still lies one major weakness: the economy. And when you look at the time period this book takes place in, during a century-long war, you start to see why everything feels so tense, so fragile, and so stacked against people like Jin. The small details of her story might not be the most enticing thing to learn about, but it's the background of her situation that paints a bigger picture. So today, we're going to have a little fun with this book and dig into what City of Echoes reveals about Ba Sing Se's struggling economy, how the 100-Year War twisted it, and why that economic pressure shapes the entire story around Jin. Avatar Legends City of Echoes is a new novel and is the first novel in a new Avatar Legends series of books which focuses on unsung heroes of the Avatar universe, essentially spin-off stories of other more lesser-known characters. This first story, City of Echoes, follows the character of Jin around the events of The Last Airbender in Season 2. Jin is famously known for barely having even 10 minutes of screen time in the entire show, with the episode Tales of Ba Sing Se, where she shares a kiss with the happiest man on the planet, Zuko, who could barely go on one date with her to save his life if he tried. Jin is someone that I can almost guarantee every single one of you watching this video never expected would ever be adapted into a piece of Avatar media again, let alone get her very own story where she is the main character. This new novel pretty much gives us that story. Jin lives in the lower ring of Ba Sing Se, where she tries to keep her head down, caring for her ailing grandfather, attending school, and helping out to deliver for a bakery run by her best friend Susu's family. Jin's early life was struck by a sad and unfortunate loss to both her parents at the hands of the Fire Nation, which forced her to come to the city and make a new life as best as she can. The main conflict of this story arises from Susu's father, who gambles away his bakery, and in order to pay off that debt he accrued, Susu is forced to take a contract with some shady people in the upper ring of the city. Jin sees this all happen, and in true desperation to uphold her friendship and keep it alive, she tries to go get her back and joins in on some dangerous activities to get involved. She gets involved with some other shady people in the middle ring who are connected to the criminal underworld via a powerful black market group called the Silver Fangs. Jin is slowly but surely able to maneuver her way around these people and their criminal activities, and he's also able to realize just how far down everything goes into this world, knowing that there may be no way out of it, even if she does save her friend in time. Now, aside from the fact that this is not the 100-Year War's fault for causing this particular scenario to happen, there is an effect from it from the outside looking in that sparks these kind of things to happen and grow even bigger. History has shown through many cases that when a war happens and affects a city, on average, it leads to a drop in GDP, a drop in household consumption, a decline in infrastructure and technological advancement, a drop in exports, and similar drops in imports and revenue as well. All around, the economy is just not doing well, and it makes people take risks to do certain things in order to gain an advantage in times that can really send you down a hole if you aren't playing it right. In this case, with City of Echoes, Susu's father gambling away his bakery in order to pay off a debt is an example of what you can see happen to somebody in these trying times. The criminal underworld will take advantage of this and hurt the people who need it the most. Because our main characters are particularly in the lower ring of the city, it makes it even worse for their situation, and desperation will only increase for you to make certain decisions that will either get your family back on their footing or lose everything that you have left. That's why Susu left to help pay it back off and get more money, and why Jin needed to go back to get her. Because now for Jin, she doesn't have a place to work at anymore, and so her situation as far as making money is negatively affected because she acted as an employee to a business that was paying her and allowing her to put food on her table and care for her grandfather. The other interesting thing about a story like this is that If you think about it, Ba Sing Se does have the ability to get involved with helping those who need it and lifting their economy up to positively affect all people, regardless if you are in the lower ring, the middle ring, or the upper ring. Normally, in war, a city might take action and join the war effort by using resources within their own borders to help fund it. In doing so, this would also create a state of local economic inequality. Governments need to extract resources from the general population to fund war efforts. I have two great examples to show for this. If you remember from episode 7 of season 2 called Zuko Alone, we see in that episode that the Earth Kingdom uses local establishments and livestock to help fund their military. In the case of this episode, we see several soldiers take advantage of those responsibilities for their own gain, which led to Zuko fighting them off and simultaneously revealing his own true identity. Take my other great example with a very popular saying of what we like to call taxation without representation. You will sometimes see a government pass a tax on a group of people to primarily help pay off a large debt that was accrued during a war. The biggest historical example of this was when the British taxed the American colonists right before the Revolutionary War to help fund the British troops that were stationed in North America to protect the colonies. There were major protests against this because it led to an economic hardship and an infringement on many people's rights. The reason I mention these examples is because Ba Sing Se, at least from the way we've seen it, doesn't take from the people inside as much to help fund the war. The main and obvious explanation for this not happening is because they simply don't believe the war even exists and have brainwashed everyone into thinking that. It's quite insane how people don't truly realize that the idea of propaganda is one of, if not the worst weapons ever created. These long wars, like the one that The Last Airbender explores, tend to push governments to increase control over civilian life, which in turn tends to elevate propaganda, censorship, and state involvement in activities that quite frankly they have no right to be involved with. Thanks to all of us as fans who have watched Avatar The Last Airbender, we know this to be the truest thing said in the entire video. We've all heard the phrase, "There is no war in Ba Sing Se." The propaganda apparatus that spawned from statements like this is the ultimate reason why the city fell at the end of Season 2 in the show and caused a governmental collapse at the hands of Prince Azula, ushering in a coup to overthrow everyone who wasn't already brainwashed yet. The military inside the city were mainly what was left standing until they too were also taken away, and it was just a matter of time before it all fell apart. The corruption of the government allowed someone like Long Fang and the Dai Li to essentially become the quote-unquote truth-sayers, creating a city where maintaining the illusion of peace mattered more than the lives or freedoms of its citizens, especially from an economic perspective. If a government is telling you about something that's going on, at that point, it's either going to be true or not, and deciphering that information becomes even harder, which causes people to make decisions that are not in their best interest. That is essentially everything that this story is for Jin and her friend, and the path that they go down. Now, I'm not going to directly spoil everything else that happens in the rest of the book, because I think you guys should go give it a read if you are interested enough. But if you do want to talk spoilers and you have read the book, you can do that in the comments down below, and make sure that you give a warning that you will talk spoilers so that we can have a conversation about those finer details. Now, with all that in mind, I'm sure you're probably wondering, how does this affect our core group of characters who we know from the show, who we follow every episode, especially given the fact that they are present in the city at the exact same time as when this story in the book is taking place? I made sure to write this down in my notes as I was reading the book, but I found it interesting that there is a heavy emphasis on commentary about the way Ba Sing Se works with its class systems of the lower ring, middle ring, and upper ring. It plays into Jin's stress whenever she hears about the Avatar getting special treatment, and that it is only after Susu had to leave to fix things that badly happened back home with her family's bakery. Later on, after we had seen her go on her date with Zuko, one day she comes back to the tea house to see that they had already been taken up to the upper ring when they were offered a better deal and Iroh was given his own tea shop to operate. Everything around her own life was falling off a cliff, and meanwhile, all these other bigger characters that we know know well were getting proper upper class treatment. And I think that's just quite interesting to see play out in this book when you think about it hard enough. And looking back on it, an episode like Tales of Ba Sing Se from that point of view might actually be better now if you have the context of this book in mind when you watch it. Again, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you all and say that this is one of the best Avatar novels that's been produced in recent years. It follows a character that you wouldn't ever think would need their own book. But even with that aside, I do appreciate that it was not afraid to give us an extension into other aspects of Season 2 of the show when our characters finally come into the city and we see how everything is laid out with how the government works and where the economy is and so on. Given I am also way behind on reading every single one of the Avatar books and graphic novels, you all can fill me in on whether or not this is the first book that goes in detail about Ba Sing Se's economy regardless of the time period, whether it was during the war or before it. I know there were a couple of graphic novels that take place after the war, following our main gang of characters, and Ba Sing Se becomes a part of it afterwards. But from the perspective of the city during the war and before it happened, you can tell me if that is the case, and I look forward to hearing your answers. With that being said, I'm going to end the video there. I don't normally make videos like this, but I'm hoping as we go into 2026, I can look to make more like it, if that is something that you are interested in, whether it ties to a new book or not. And I also do apologize for taking this long to get it read fully, given it came out back in July. But life takes over for me sometimes with a lot of the other stuff that I have going on, but I wanted to make sure that I also did get it done before the end of the year. And so, what do you all think about Avatar Legends City of Echoes if you've read it already? Drop a comment and let me know. If you did enjoy the video and you want to see more, be sure to like it, and if you are new to this channel, subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Thank you all for stopping by Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for more Avatar.